you have, initially, the question is, who cares? If you're working, and in the beginning, when we started, we started working locally. And pretty much everybody here is working local, if you're working in your area. So if you're looking for funding, you have to find somebody who cares about the population that you're working with. And people come and say, well, should I apply for an NIH grant? I grew up in New York, we say, forget about it. I mean, not forever, but in the beginning, that's not where you want to go. Where you want to go is, so the first project that we did when I started the center in 1991, within a couple of years, was with the Latin American Youth Center in DC. And these were kids from El Salvador, primarily, who fled the fighting there. And we did a project, and what I did is I put together a project with Latino high school students who were interested in the health professions and Georgetown medical students. Because my friend ran the Latin American Youth Center, and I'm a professor at Georgetown. So I had access to those two groups. So I started with something local that was then appealing to a foundation because it was working with kids who were really having a hard time. So you need to find, that's a beginning, finding somebody who's interested in what you're doing locally. What happened in Sonoma County, as I think many of you know, is the other thing is when something happens that really concerns people. And of course what happened was the fires and then the after effects of the fires on so many people. Then the community, people in the community wanted to do something, wanted to do many things, but the people in the health professions recognized the very high level of psychological distress. And so what they did is somebody, Adair Look, some of you might know Adair is a psychiatrist in Sonoma.
She's part of the West County Health Center, I believe.
I'm sorry, Angeles?
She's involved with the West County Health Center.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So she got in touch with me.
Yeah.
She said she'd come through the initial training and the advanced training, and she said, we need it. We need we need the center to come here. And I said, how do we make it happen?
Wow.
And so what she did is she reached out to people in those different health centers and in public health, and she brought them together. Sonoma's very organized, and so there was a very serious vetting process, phone calls, and then I came and I did a meeting with leadership in the county, and then people were getting interested, and they checked up, and they read all our research, and they did everything. And then what they did is they began to reach out to community foundations, to businesses, and they put together the funding. And what we said is, Angeles, could you get me some iced tea as long as you're up?
Yes.
Thank you. So what they did is they put together the funding for us to come and do 3 trainings. But and they raised it from all the different groups that cared about the county. They didn't look to anyone else. And that's what we're doing more and more, is that communities are coming together to look for funding for what we do, and not just from one group. We did the same thing in Houston. In Houston, I reached out, I sent a note to everybody who'd come through our program, and somebody responded, Gwen Breen, whom some of you may know, social worker there. And she said, well, what do I do to make it happen? I said, well, talk to, you reach out to all your contacts. And the guy who runs the Center for Spirituality and Healing at University of Texas Medical Center, John Graham, was in the Saybrook program, and he had just read a paper of mine. Thank you, Angels. And he said, oh, I want to meet this guy. Let's bring his work here. So it's that way, increasing. Some places, there is no money. We're going South Sudan. We were just in South Sudan a couple of months ago. And we went there because Aniath, some of you know Aniath Dawood, who's a human rights lawyer from South Sudan. And she came to our training, and she would say that she said it saved my life. I've seen so many of my friends and family killed, so many, I'm working with women who are gang raped. It was totally overwhelmed. I came through the training and I began to feel myself again. And so she went back and shared the work, which we encourage all of you. She shared the work with 90 women who were in this cooperative that she organized. And she was teaching them the techniques, and they loved it. And so we started talking about, let's see what we can do in South Sudan. And what was happening is that they're trying to form a new government. They call it they're so cautious, they call it a pre-transitional government. And I said, well, why don't you ask them? It turns out she knew people on both the war and the tribes. So why don't you ask them if they're interested in us coming? And it turned out they were. So Anieth and I and Surette, who manages all our international work, went there and did a workshop for 80 people from both warring parties, from the army, the women's groups, and other sort of non-government organizations. And everybody wants us to come. They have no money. So if any of you has some money, we want to go, and we have an opportunity in South Sudan, quite literally, to work with 12 million people.
Wow.
They have 2.5 psychiatrists. The woman who's in charge of psychiatry describes it. She said there are 2.5 psychiatrists, and there are a few psychologists, no such thing as clinical social workers. We visited the Army hospital, 700 beds, all filled, almost all with people with bullet wounds, no rehabilitation, no social work, no TVs that I could see, no books, hardly any magazines or games. It's really very, so in those situations, we have to raise the money from somewhere else.
When a catastrophe happens,
A little louder, please, Krista.
when a catastrophe happens, like something like New Orleans, like Hurricane Katrina, or even the tragedy around like Sandy Hook, how did they enroll the support and love of the Center for Mind-Body Medicine to go and help those communities?
Well, what happened is with those places, I just showed up. We, just showed up and said, here I am. I might have a name or two. And Sandy Hook, I just went there the day after the shootings, 2 days after the shootings, wandered around. And then it turned out that one of our faculty, Monique's brother, was a rheumatologist in that area. So I went to church with him, spent time with him, started meeting people. So it's just, now it's, it's just always reaching out. For example, we brought two things. When we went to, we got some money to go to Nairobi to do a workshop for Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society that works with refugees from all over. So we got some money from them that got us to Nairobi to do a workshop, and then I invited some other people. A psychiatrist in Minneapolis, had another friend who's a psychiatrist who'd gone to Somaliland to work in Somaliland with a Somali hospital administrator. So I said, come on down. We're doing a program. So they came and they loved it. And now they're trying to raise money in Somaliland and from the Somali, the diaspora to bring us to Somaliland. And then I met and sort of know the actress Robin Wright, and she has a program in Democratic Republic of Congo, primarily focused on women there. And I said I invited the guy who runs the program, and he came. We paid for him to come. We sort of we look for money so that we have some money, so that we can go somewhere and just get started, and then we reach out and invite people and see what we can do.
You're a connector.
I'm sorry?
You're a connector. The connector.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, so